Anybody who studied art history may have come across the artworks of the great fresco painters, medieval period, like Fra Angelico. Everything that you see would be his, except they weren't, because no person can do the amount of work needed to do those frescoes. So he would have had a team. Well, same with writing. You've already said the word amanuensis, or amanuenses, because there could have been more than one. Why are they important?
An amanuensis is somebody who is skilled in shorthand, skilled in the ability to record information, and who would be travelling alongside an orator or somebody who could deliver a message, and they would note what they had to say. Or they would act like a dictaphone, a secretary, a PA, somebody who was really well versed in being able to handle words, and they would be able to record what the individual that they had in front of them was saying. Think of a court stenographer when they're sat there tapping away on all of the account, what's being said and how it's being said. As we've touched on already, I think it's really important to understand that there were certain things that were spoken and were recorded by this stenographer of the court, the person who was skilled in letters and who was able to capture the story. John Mark very likely wrote the Gospel of Mark based on sitting down with Peter and getting Peter to tell him his account of what it was like being with Jesus. I've just finished teaching through the book of Colossians. And right at the very end of Colossians, Paul almost like takes the pen off somebody and says, now I sort of close this out and here I am, it's me, Paul, in my own handwriting. And that was probably a young pastor called Timothy, who is the recipient of two of what are called the pastoral epistles, 1st and 2nd Timothy. Timothy, who was acting as an amanuensis. You're right, there is more than one person involved in pulling stuff together. But again, that doesn't detract from the centrality of who is the artist behind it, or in this case, the author behind it.
There's a very old book by David McDill. It's called The Mosaic Authorship of the Pentateuch. He talks about the amanuenses, and he says, and I'll quote, "These may have sometimes employed their own style of thought and language." A lot of source criticism of the 19th century looked at the Bible and said, well, these are written in a different style. The words seem to be different. And that's possibly why. It would be similar to you, Steve, writing a book and you've got somebody to help you. And one is a Maori and one's French and one is Spanish. They're going to use slight differences in the language to put down your words. You'll know this as well, of course, being a detective. If we saw a road accident and you and I were opposite sides of the road and we got somebody in the accident involved and some bystanders up the road and we all had to go and write something down, we would report what happened, but they won't necessarily all be similar. There's going to be slight changes in the way that the words are used and the order in which things happened. If there are differences in the text, well, so what? Because ultimately, what really matters is the integrity of the message, and that could be the same for any book written at any time in history.
Your use of the analogy of a car accident is absolutely spot on, which to me gives even more integrity to the book. You go and take statements off 5 people, all who have been witness to a serious assault or something like that. If every single witness agrees in every material particular, there's something wrong. Somebody's doing something not right. The order of things will sometimes be different depending on who's actually recounting that story. That doesn't make any of it less true. What it makes it is quite real. If you have everybody agree in every material particular, I would be thinking these guys have got their heads together and they've hatched a plot here to try and cause a problem for somebody because everything agrees to the tiniest degree. And that is not life. That is not real. Now, there would be people who would say, no, it must be real. That's the most scientific way to do it. There is no deviance. There's deviance in life. You need to be honest about that. This is one of the things that I really like about the Bible. It doesn't pretend to be anything other than what it is, which is flawed human beings trying in their best possible way through inspiration of the Holy Spirit to actually capture as much detail as they can.